It was the kind of garage sale no one should have stopped at. A crooked sign stood at the edge of a cracked driveway, the letters fading beneath layers of peeling paint. Old furniture and boxes of junk were scattered across the lawn, all of it sagging beneath the weight of years. Emma spotted the mirror first. It leaned against the side of the house, draped in a dusty sheet. Something about it seemed wrong. Still, curiosity got the better of her. She pulled the cloth away, and the mirror was revealed. Its frame was iron, blackened with age, etched with twisting patterns that almost looked like flames. The glass itself was oddly dark, as if it had absorbed shadows over the years. When Emma looked into it, she shivered. The reflection was hers, but her face seemed pale, distant, slightly off, as though she were staring at a version of herself that wasn't quite her. "Creepy," Jason muttered, stepping up beside her. "Looks like it belongs in some haunted house." Chris grinned, "Which makes it perfect for our dorm room. Imagine the parties." Emma hesitated, but the others laughed and teased until finally she agreed. They hauled the mirror to the front, where an old woman sat slouched in a chair, watching with sunken eyes. "You want that?" she rasped, her voice trembling. "It's just a mirror," Jason said. "How much?" The woman shook her head slowly. Her lips curled into a cracked smile that revealed yellow teeth. "It doesn't just show your reflection." The group fell silent, exchanging uneasy glances. Chris tried to laugh it off. "Well, that's cryptic. So what does it show then?" The woman's eyes glistened with something sharp, something dangerous. "What you don't want to see." Emma shifted uncomfortably. She wanted to walk away, to leave the mirror there in the dying grass. But Jason had already pressed a few bills into the woman's hand. The old woman accepted the money without looking, her gaze fixed on Emma. As they loaded the mirror into the back of the car, Emma glanced one last time at the woman. She was still watching, her lips moving silently, as if whispering a prayer or a curse. The dark glass of the mirror caught the fading sunlight, swallowing it whole. And then they drove away. The mirror looked out of place in their dorm room. Among the posters, textbooks, and clutter of student life, it stood like a relic from another world, its black iron frame heavy and unnatural, its dark surface reflecting just a little too dimly. For the first day, it was nothing more than a creepy decoration. Jason made jokes about summoning Bloody Mary, Chris tried to scare Emma by sneaking up behind her while she stared into it, and Lily insisted it gave her bad vibes. But as the night stretched on and the dorm grew quiet, the mirror began to feel less like an object and more like a presence. It was Emma who saw it first. She woke around midnight, the room bathed in shadows, the faint glow of the streetlight slipping through the blinds. Her eyes drifted to the mirror across from her bed. At first, she thought it was only her reflection staring back at her. But then, her stomach dropped. Her reflection was smiling. Emma sat up slowly, her pulse hammering. She reached a trembling hand to her lips, but her face remained still, expressionless. In the mirror, however, her double grinned wider, teeth glinting in the dim light. She gasped and blinked, and the smile was gone. Her reflection returned to normal, perfectly mimicking her again. "Emma?" Lily stirred beside her, her voice groggy. "What's wrong?" Emma swallowed hard. "Nothing. Just bad dream." But she couldn't tear her eyes from the mirror. For the rest of the night, she lay awake, afraid to blink, afraid to close her eyes, certain that if she did, the reflection would start moving again. By the morning, she convinced herself it had only been a trick of the light, her tired mind playing games. But the memory lingered, heavy and cold.
and when she passed by the mirror later that day, she could swear she felt something watching her from the other side.
Over the next few days, the mirror became the center of their unease. No one wanted to admit it out loud, but each of them had noticed things. Small, fleeting details that couldn't be explained. Chris swore that once when he walked past it half asleep, he saw a shadow standing behind him in the reflection. When he turned, the dorm room was empty. Lily claimed she had caught her reflection blinking a second too late, like it was lagging behind her movements. By the third night, they all stopped joking about it. Jason was the first to hear the voice. He had been alone in the room, scrolling through his phone, when a soft whisper echoed just above his shoulder. "Jason." He froze, his eyes darting to the mirror. His reflection stared back, identical except for the faintest curl of a smile at the corner of its mouth. The voice came again, low and coaxing. "Jason, come closer." His breath caught in his throat. He stumbled back, knocking over a chair, and the sound drew Emma and Chris running from the hall. Jason tried to explain, but the words tangled in his mouth. All he could manage was a trembling finger pointed at the mirror. When Emma and Chris looked, the reflection was normal, just three pale, frightened faces staring back at them. That night, they decided to get rid of it. Jason and Chris carried the mirror down 3 flights of stairs, grunting under its impossible weight, and left it propped against a dumpster behind the dorm. They laughed nervously, telling themselves it was over. But when they returned to the room, there it was. The mirror stood once more against the wall, its iron frame untouched, its dark glass gleaming faintly in the shadows. No one spoke. No one dared to touch it again. The atmosphere in the dorm grew unbearable. No one wanted to sleep. No one wanted to be alone. The mirror dominated the room, impossible to ignore, its surface swallowing the lamplight, its frame seeming darker each night. It was Jason who changed first. He stopped joking, stopped eating much, stopped joining in their nervous conversations. Instead, he sat in front of the mirror for hours, staring into its depths as though listening to something the others couldn't hear. "Jason," Emma said one night, her voice sharp, "you've got to stop." He didn't answer. His reflection, however, shifted, its lips twitching into a grin, even though Jason's real face remained blank. Lily gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. "Oh my God! Did you see that?" Chris grabbed Jason by the shoulders and shook him. "Snap out of it!" But Jason's eyes were glazed, unfocused. When he finally spoke, his voice was wrong, deeper, harsh, as if it belonged to someone else entirely. "It's not your reflection, it's you, the real you, the one that's been waiting to get out." They recoiled, horror tightening in their chests. Emma felt her stomach twist. She remembered the words of the old woman, "It doesn't just show your reflection." The mirror's surface rippled faintly, like water disturbed by a hidden current. And in that shifting glass, their reflections moved independently, smiling, tilting their heads, raising their hands out of sync with their own. Emma backed away, trembling. What the hell is this thing? Jason turned to them slowly, his eyes dark, his grin unnatural. It's the devil's mirror, and it's hungry.
They couldn't take it anymore. Jason had become a stranger. His laughter wrong, his words sharp and cold, his reflection moving a heartbeat out of sync with his body. At night, the mirror pulsed with a faint glow, as though something inside it was alive. Emma finally said what they were all thinking. We have to destroy it. Chris grabbed a hammer from the maintenance closet downstairs. Lily held the journal she'd found tucked inside Jason's desk drawer,
filled with scrawled, half-legible sentences. One line was repeated over and over in frantic handwriting. "Don't let it out." They gathered in front of the mirror, their fear thick enough to choke them. Jason sat slumped in a chair nearby, his eyes glassy, his lips moving in silent murmurs only the mirror seemed to hear. Chris lifted the hammer. "On 3, he whispered. 1, 2... The swing landed with a deafening crack, but instead of shattering into shards, the glass split open like flesh. A dark liquid seeped out, thick and gleaming, dripping down the frame like blood. The surface rippled violently, and from within came a chorus of whispers, voices layered on top of one another, begging, laughing, screaming. Emma screamed for Chris to stop, but he struck again. This time, the mirror convulsed, the black fluid pouring onto the floor, pooling around their shoes. The room stank of sulfur and rot. Then it happened. A hand, pale, clawed, dripping with the same black liquid, reached through the cracked surface and seized Jason by the wrist. His eyes snapped wide, filled with sudden clarity and terror. "Help me!" he cried in his real voice, the first they had heard in days. But it was too late. The mirror yawned open like a mouth, and Jason was dragged inside. His scream was cut short as the glass sealed behind him, leaving only the faintest ripple. The hammer slipped from Chris's hands. None of them moved. None of them breathed. Silence settled over the room after Jason vanished. The black liquid had seeped into the cracks of the floor, leaving only the faint stink of sulfur behind. Emma and Chris stood frozen, their hearts pounding so loudly it felt like the mirror could hear. "We have to get rid of it," Emma whispered, her voice breaking. "We can't just leave it here." Together they wrapped the mirror in a blanket, dragged it down the stairs, and carried it into the freezing night. It felt heavier than before, as though it didn't want to move. With every step, Emma swore she heard faint scratching from beneath the fabric, like nails scraping at the glass. They hauled it to the edge of the woods and, with a desperate cry, pushed it face first into the dirt. For a moment the blanket twitched, as though something inside was struggling, but then it went still. Emma and Chris didn't wait. They turned and ran back to the dorm, neither daring to look over their shoulders. Hours later, Emma found herself alone. Chris had gone home for the weekend, unable to take another night in that cursed room. The dorm was quiet, too quiet, and though the mirror was gone, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She went into the bathroom to wash her face, telling herself it was over. The old woman's warning, the whispers, Jason's disappearance, all of it was behind her now. But when she looked up, she froze. The bathroom mirror reflected her face, but it wasn't hers. Her reflection smiled, and then slowly, deliberately, it lifted its hand, even though Emma's own hand stayed at her side. Her breath caught in her throat as her reflection pressed a single finger to its lips. Shh. The light above her flickered once, and the room went dark.